Hey, welcome back. We have a brand new episode of the community talks and leaves comments. So we're gonna check us how this works is you leave a comment on this topic or whatever topic you want, and whichever comment of yours gets the most upvotes, or we see it like repeating itself from different people, or we just find it interesting, is gonna be featured in the next video, and that will be the topic. So for this one, we have it from Koldaric9676, and he said, I kinda disagree on this take. If I want replayability in WoW, I want it to be because whatever game mode I'm playing is fun, be it M+, or PvP, or raiding. Design the game to be fun rather than introducing arbitrary carrots on sticks that feel like obligation. So the question is for today, is WoW still fun in 11.1.5 in the current retail WoW? Well, it's a complex question because all I can think about is like how formulaic WoW has become and what avenue are you most interested in and how fun that avenue is. Be that raiding, Mythic+, PvP, delves, pet battles, transmog collection, mount collection. There's so many avenues. And I feel that there's something missing.
It's definitely formulaic. And first, to address the question that was in contrast to us saying that WoW needs bar power back because we needed something back, something that kept us logging in again and again. And I think, if anything, the Turbo Boost event kind of did that. It gave people a reason to log back in by increasing the item level, by giving uncapped crest farms, which it's not borrowed power, but it's a farm that you can constantly do until the end of time, since
until you get your best
until you're kind of maxed. Obviously, this is probably one of the best seasons that we've had in WoW in terms of endgame content and replayability because of how they addressed Mythic+, because of how they address raids, and then you have delves as well for casual people. So it is, in the sense, one of the most fun ones, but is it enough to keep people on? Because we see these new events being added, and they're not really...
They feel half baked. They feel. I kind of miss. So I get the point of Koldaric's comment. I kind of miss that feeling of excitement when you play something that feels fresh in World of Warcraft. And we had this with the artifact weapons in Legion, and with the new Mythic Plus system introduced, that was pretty huge. Even the fact that they reworked the specs, you were curious and you find it fun to like discover the new abilities, all of the new mechanics. This also happened like sort of in Mist of Pandaria when they switched around the talent trees and everything was like, oh my god, this is so compressed, and it was fun kind of like tweaking with that. I think the best moment of like pure fun for me, at least, and I can see this in the whole community, was still during Legion, during we have to call it out, the Mage Tower.
Okay.
That was challenging. I remember people being like super mad when that first was introduced because it was very hard. But once they gave a lot more power and catch up and everything, it became a fun little game mode. That on top of everything that Legion introduced, as I said, Mythic Plus and all of that. So, okay, maybe not borrowed power, but where do we put the stamp of fun on WoW? Because it's still a fun game, but it has so many bumps on the road that like it's like a slow death. Like if you continue play and let's say like you want to push rating in Mythic Plus, for example, or you want to get cutting edge or something, you continuously play and play and play, and at some point it becomes some sort of a muscle memory. Then everything becomes so formulaic in your head as well that it slowly kills the fun element, and you just like wind up thinking, maybe I should try to play a new spec. Maybe I should try to do something else.
That's exactly it. And what I was going to say is that the fun right now seems to be condensed in because it's an interesting roller coaster. So right now, I think what's fun about the game is actually playing the classes and playing the specs.
Specs were always kind of fun. I mean,
not really, because if you remember, there was a time when we criticized Blizzard a lot about how they are designing classes and specs, because that has to be the first thing.
That was because the borrowed power thing.
Yeah, and funny how that works. And now we're actually having really good specs and class design. You can, of course, there's your spec that somehow just doesn't work, but you have to admit that as opposed to like the past expansions, specs and classes are really fun right now to engage with, whether you play dungeons, raids, delves, open world content, or farm, whatever. The problem with WoW's current content is, and why our brain went to borrow power, is that the outside of your character type content is kind of boring. Either it's formulaic and it's still like you said, or we don't have the Legion type stuff that it felt like they were thinking outside of the box. We had the Withered Army training, we had the Suramar, we had the artifact appearance farming that was like a different kind of transmog that you had to do all kinds of this. And whether you would like it or not, at the time world quests were kind of new. Invasions were kind of new. They became boring, sure, but they were like a delve type content, but there was like 3 or 4 of them instead of just one thing, right? That was essentially new. So you would get bored, of course, as you can get bored with everything, but a little bit slower than usual, and you had way more balls to juggle on top of the borrowed power.
Balls to juggle.
Exactly. So what I think is, for the last couple of expansions, ever since Dragonflight onwards, they focused a lot on internal systems being good.
Which is good.
Mythic Plus is good right now. The mechanics are fun. The visuals are good.
You say Mythic Plus is good right now. I still feel there's a lot more steps to take to make it actually good and engaging. There's still a lot of problems in Mythic Plus, and
for sure.
Speaking for all my healers out there, this is like the worst season to be a healer because they didn't really tone down one-shots. They didn't really tone down mechanics. It's interesting. They toned down mechanics and casts, but they kind of maybe unintentionally promoted big pulls, which do imply a lot more mobs, which do imply a lot more stops, a lot more interrupts, and so forth.
Counterintuitive to what they were trying to achieve.
Exactly. And it's fun up until one point. Then it becomes kind of stressful, and you don't really want to go there anymore just because you feel like something can always just slip out of your hands. This is purely from a healer perspective. We also cover tanks with the threat issues and all of that. It's not necessarily regarding Mythic Plus, but you do feel these problems in Mythic Plus the most.
I guess
it's not the only game mode.
Yeah, I think, well, obviously it's the most played game mode, at least that we have data on, and it's played way more than past seasons that we've had in a very long time. That's where, I would assume it's fun. Maybe people just play it out of habit. Maybe people play it out of routine, or that they don't really have anything better to do, and they might want something better, and that's perfectly fine. What I meant to say is that they focused on perfecting the system with better visuals, better crest rewards and gear. It's never going to be perfect, right? And even raids, because we take a look at like 2 expansions back in Shadowlands. Now we have a lot more paths and skips that we kind of asked for. We have tier sets with catalysts, so you can reliably get your tier set and not like having to stress too much about it. Like bosses have multiple loot types where you can get a trinket, but also a tier piece, so it's not super restrictive anymore. And the dinar system obviously is a good change. The vault also kind of, encompassing more aspects of PvE and having PvP broken apart so that if you don't play PvP, you can do world quests. So they've worked on that as well. But I think where they're missing the mark very heavily when it comes to fun is the flavor of the game that we've criticized as well in Dragonflight, where because obviously we're doing some work on some videos that you might already see or might see in the future, but there's that epic moment that kind of got you into the game before, like whether or not it was fun. When you log into Legion, you're going to be fighting the Burning Legion. You're getting
the context and the vibe is always there. Plus the story. I know a lot of people are not interested in the story, but even for people who are not that interested in the story, the fact that you have this vibe all around, this atmosphere, contributes to the fun element. Right now, it was very cool at the beginning of War Within. We made a lot of videos praising the War Within. It started off great,
but missing sauce.
That meat on the bone is not there.
It's kind of like that super cool baked bread that looks so crispy, but
which
the inside,
is fun.
But the inside is like kind of hollow, right? So you need a little bit more juice. You need a proper story, proper characters that all shape around your characters and all of these systems, and of course. The formulaic problem is something that is very hard to say that we've always had this problem, and it's very hard to discuss because it's something that kind of cropped up a little bit recently because it's a natural problem to occur with a game that's going on for such a long time.
Let me ask you something. Did you feel you had more fun in BFA than right now in War Within? Honest question.
A little bit, yeah.
Me too. Why is that? This is because I remember us talking shit all the time about the fact that we had to grind, but we still played the hell out of it.
So it broke a couple of barriers. First of all, it broke the faction concept that we've had up until then. It didn't, deliver until the end, but And whether you like to admit it or not, Azrai was like a different thing you engage with. Your brain kind of wants different things. It was a little bit boring in the theme part of it because we didn't have our tier sets. We didn't have as much individuality.
What was fun about BFA? Because even though we had a ton of restrictions, we kept on playing and playing and playing and playing. And we played the raids, we played arenas a lot, we played Mythic Plus a lot. We kind of engaged with all of the content. Why was that better, at least in terms of like looking back, and it's more of like Fieldcrafty. Why was that better then than what we have now? Was it the story? Was it the actual content? Was it easier to gauge into that content? Was it like, was your PC running much better during all of that content?
It's a lot. It's very small things. It also felt, to me at least, felt more Warcrafty. We had trolls and humans.
True.
Kultirans and Zandalari.
The context plays a big role.
Yeah, the context and the zones coming. What do we have before we had Legion? It was like a whole new world.
I got tired of that. I got tired of that. Like the whole green all around.
Yeah, it was getting oppressive.
Criticized.
So going into Stormsong Valley, seeing that openness, fresh. It was really cool. And fresh. Mythic Plus was finally getting to be polished a little bit because in Legion it was a little bit, first draft type thing. So you were getting like actual proper rotated affixes. We were getting like Nagas and all god themes. So even if the story with Sylvanas was kind of like and it ended up being shit, everything around it, it was kind of good. Like seeing Jaina being a much more impactful character was cool because
speculating that Jaina might be a Dreadlord. Remember that?
Yeah. So it felt more Warcrafty overall. It felt like the flavor was more there than it is now.
But I'm curious, like, do you guys who played in BFA, do you guys have the same feeling that it was a little bit more fun than it is right now? I don't know. Maybe we're just too much nostalgic or something. I can definitely tell you that in Shadowlands, at least from Korthia moving forward, I didn't feel the same fun element to it, but I did feel a lot more fun at the beginning. Shadowlands Season 1 was
I think for Mythic Plus and the raid was really good.
Yeah. Was great. Like the dungeons were great. We still didn't get the full grasp on what we were expecting in terms of like getting our characters to the potential power. Yeah. So that borrow power was shit. But again, that first season of Shadowlands was really, really banger. Arenas too. And we have to like we're going in circles. Like if WoW is fun today, it is in some parts, but it's definitely not in others. And I think one of the biggest reasons is the context, the atmosphere, the vibe. We're lacking that. We feel like it's like a stale hamster wheel we're doing.
To play off on what you said, it kind of was what built Shadowlands to be so hated as well, with Korthia as well. Going into Shadowlands, sure, this was kind of like new concepts and we're kind of exploring it, but once it started to set in, you realized, okay, this doesn't really look like WoW anymore, which was what Korthia's and what Zereth Mortis was in the end. As much as Zereth Mortis improved gameplay-wise, it was very alien. With what's geometry class, circles and triangles all over the place.
It was very alien indeed. I cannot shake off the fact that, okay, they focused a lot in Dragonflight on making sure like the hood, the engine works properly, like with the new talents and everything. So and they excluded the power stuff, and that was great. We always praised them for that. Dragonflight in terms of like story and atmosphere was really stale. But I was expecting a lot more for the War Within. Maybe 11.2 will bring this and will start kicking in gear. I think like medicine will play a role in this as well.
Oh, but, interested, yeah.
Just getting past a little bit the whole context and vibe. I surely believe that the gameplay currently needs a lot more
content
improvement and upgrading. You said like most classes are fun. I agree. Most classes are fun today. On the other hand, there's also the truth that a lot of these classes and specs feel very outdated, even as fun as they are.
Yeah, some of them.
They need upgrading a lot in many departments. I was looking specifically on rogues on Reddit and seeing what people are talking about rogues. Like, rogues are so over-designed in so many avenues. And it's true. And I don't know why, and I don't know how the team works out all of these things, but indeed, when you play a spec that's near and dear to your heart, that spec needs to feel good, it needs to perform good, it needs to deliver on the fantasy, and sure enough, we have to praise them. They did that in a lot of cases, but there is the truth that most of them are kind of in the past.
It's a weird situation when we have with classes, because if we're talking about mages and windwalkers and mistweavers, because I wanted to say monks, but I cannot really touch brewmasters. Maybe that's a good example to the point that I'm going to be making. They play way better. Like the specs that have been properly reworked, they are the most fun versions of them in terms of gameplay wise, in terms of like how fun it is to do your rotation, to pop your cooldowns, to sync all of your little things. While other specs, when they forget them, it actually shows how much WoW has evolved.
Yep, when you see the difference.
When you look at, you've played Frost Decay, and Frost Decay right now is probably, since Legion here, the most complex it has ever been, and it still feels very outdated. You've built a very insignificant resource.
Unholy is also very... Unholy plays the same for like the longest time.
It has like an abomination now instead of like a million little ghouls, but functionally it's the same. Yeah.
So what I propose is, but this is another topic for a video. But we're gonna like close it off after I propose it. We need some sort of like Legion revamp for all the specs. It's ambitious, I know, but something needs to happen because you said it. You've seen the reworks.
Legion was pretty big, and whenever we were in Legion, my personal opinion about it is, and you can let us know if it was similar, is that they raised the bar so high. There is the bar with class design. They raised the bar with order halls, class campaigns. Artifact weapons is kind of like the bar of power of Legion, whether you like to admit it or not, but that's fine. But it was flavorful. It was Warcrafty. It added Mythic Plus as a whole. And it's not like it's a new content. That was just a new content. But Mythic Plus just turned the tables of what dungeons meant. Dungeons were supposed to be a source of like little tiny gear to get you into raid. But now dungeons were the end game, were the raid of Legion, if you want to call it that way. Not to mention that the story was very relatable, something that was built across the time, but that bar being raised so high made you think like, bro, can they keep this up? Because either we're gonna have the best years of WoW ahead of us, or it's gonna tank. And I mean,
we lived it. We know. We know. But hey, let us know in the comments what you think. Is it fun still today, and why is it fun for you, or why is it not fun for you? Again, the comment that gets the most upvotes, or the comment that seems to repeat itself all over the comment section, or maybe just one that we find giga interesting, will be the next topic for the video that will be posted next week.
Yep.
So let us know in the comments all of that, and click on this video to check
the 10 most anticipated things that Midnight needs to have to be a banger, because we've just talked about what WoW is lacking.
Click this, please.